Throughout World War II, there were many advancements in bombing, going from daylight bombing on factories to around-the-clock bombing on cities and towns. This resulted in mass death and destruction on both sides. Today, it remains a controversial issue in how we should remember these events.
And the four-engine strategic bombers that the Royal Air Force, the American Air Force had were fairly blunt tools, really. And the shift from tactical style strategic bombing, as in aiming at industry, aiming at military concentration, any of these sort of things, communications infrastructure, gave way to essentially sort of what would later be known as carpet bombing, basically targeting centres of population purely by default. Really, they couldn't do anything else. Where they were able to be more successful was in a multitude of ways using mosquitoes, actually. And these were two-engined, fast planes that were originally designed to be sort of reconnaissance aircraft and communications aircraft. And when they proved to be so successful, they were pushed into a number of roles during the Second World War.
In 1940, R.E. Bishop designed the Mosquito aircraft here in Hatfield. The Mosquito is an outstanding aircraft performing admirably during the Second World War, ranking alongside the Spitfire, the Hurricane and the Lancaster. Many people were involved in the production of the Mosquito, offering an example of how everyday lives were affected by the war. Initially, British strategic bombing was bound by the belief that deliberate attacks on civilian populations was unjustifiable. However, by 1945, RAF Bomber Command was obliterating German cities overnight. This level of damage was experienced all across European cities and industrial towns, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. I'm standing next to the London Firefighters Memorial just outside St Paul's Cathedral. This statue is in remembrance of the male and female firefighters who gave their lives during the Blitz. The Blitz, short for Blitzkrieg, is a German word meaning lightning war. This was a Nazi attempt to destroy British morale and win the war quickly. However, despite nearly 1 million homes being destroyed and 40,000 civilian deaths, the British public remained strong and resilient, what we would refer to today as Blitz spirit. This statue and others like it show that it is not only the soldiers abroad we should be remembering, but those at home that helped us win the war. I'm standing outside Bank Street Station in London, and this station and many others during the Blitz in World War II were used as bomb shelters for people who couldn't afford or didn't have the room to build their own Anderson shelters. By day, the trains were still running. By night, over 100,000 people were going into the undergrounds and using them to protect themselves from German bombs. In this particular station, there was a direct hit and 51 people were killed. And it just brings to light how tragic the Blitz really was to London. Hallam Street looks like this today. However, on the 11th of May 1941, the most destructive raid of the Blitz occurred. Over 500 German bombers dropped 711 tons of explosive bombs and 86,000 incendiaries, turning this area into nothing but rubble.
And there's this sort of idea that the Blitz was a sort of almost a great social undertaking for the British, and it brings everyone together, particularly in London, in this sort of Blitz spirit, and that it's a sort of a binding event that brings the British public together in the face of Germany, and far from eradicating their will to fight, and far from driving a wedge between them and the government. What it actually does is it solidifies their will to fight and strengthens their will. The spirit and the safety that comes from the Blitz is largely of people's own making, and they occupied the underground, occupied cellars of public buildings, largely through their own sort of efforts.
This impressive monument behind me stands to remember the 55,573 airmen who lost their lives during the Second World War. Bomber crews had a death rate of roughly 60%, one of the highest of any regiments in the Army or the Air Force. This statue was unveiled in 2012 by Queen Elizabeth herself and stands as a brilliant act of remembrance for all the soldiers that gave their lives to us. Starting on the 13th of February 1945, British and American pilots bombed the industrial city of Dresden. For 48 hours, the Royal Air Force and United States Army Air Force conducted around-the-clock bombing, destroying 1,600 acres of the city. Estimated casualties of this attack are at least 30,000. However, some estimates have been reaching 100 and 135,000 casualties. This number exceeds the amount of the British civilian casualties over the 8 months of the Blitz. This is a statue in remembrance of Sir Arthur Harris, leader of British Bomb Command and in charge of the campaign of Dresden. Bomber Harris, as he is often named, took a tough line against the Nazis, believing the aim of the combined bomber offensive should be the destruction of German cities, the killing of German workers, and the disruption of civilized life throughout Germany. It is thought some 500,000 people died at the hands of Harris. In 1992, an RAF veteran organisation donated to the building of this statue to remember their commander in a good light. However, this was met with much controversy as many protesters considered Harris a war criminal. As a result, the statue had to be placed under 24-hour security. This shows that the attack on Dresden was still highly controversial, almost 50 years after the event.
So, as to my own opinion on how we should remember or officially remember the activities of Bomb Command and the people that flew the bombs, it's not an easy question. It depends on what you mean about remembrance. Should their sacrifice and the things that they did be remembered? Certainly. Should they be celebrated in the way that commemoration and remembrance has a tendency to turn in this country at certain periods, and this has turned that way again since the centenary of the First World War? No, but there's no equivalence between sort of the actions of the bomber crews and the actions of certain elements of like the Nazi regime or whatever. There's no equivalence there at all. These crews by and large went off anticipating and aiming to hit military or industrial targets. They knew they were probably going to miss, but that's why they went off. They did not necessarily at any point go off with the fixed determination they were just simply going to go off and kill as many civilians as they possibly could.
So in terms of the fact of it being celebrated, I agree in some aspects, but the casualties and the manners that were affected, it shouldn't be pushed in front of your face. If you want to celebrate it, but it's your own opinion.
Well, it's a really tough question. I'm going to kind of sit on the fence with this one because the way I see it is a lot of people have a sense of patriotism and will kind of think back to that period of time and kind of look upon it as a sense of fighting against the injustice. Whereas I think a lot of people nowadays would kind of look back on it and think, well, actually we were bombing cities in Germany as well, so was what we were doing was the right thing, was it? Not necessarily, so I'm going to kind of sit on the fence here.
I think for us it's really difficult to judge because we weren't there, and in that period, in that time, was literally chaos. I think nobody actually knew what to do and how to stop this. And I'm not saying that it was right, I'm just saying that we need to consider all the factors behind this. Of course, the bombing, it was reckless, it was awful, and I don't think we should celebrate it. So I understand why, but I don't want to hear it again, to be honest.
Although 55,573 bomber crew died protecting the people at home, they knowingly dropped bombs which resulted in the deaths of thousands of civilians. Should we celebrate or commemorate their wartime actions? And what about Arthur Harris, who gave the command? Was he a war hero or a war criminal? What do you think?